Hello, and welcome. I'm Gary, and you're listening to Mastery, Audiobooks, where silent minds create lasting wealth. If you found this audiobook today, you're not here by accident. Maybe you felt it for a while. The quiet ache to build more than just a life, to build a legacy. Maybe your energy drains in crowded rooms, your potential hidden beneath the world's noise. Maybe you've been told that success belongs to the loud, that wealth must roar to be real. But here's the truth. Your silence is not a limitation. It's your legacy. Your reflection is not weakness. It's wisdom. You are a thinker, builder, dreamer, someone whose depth matters, whose calm is a rare and valuable edge. Today, that edge becomes your advantage. The book you're about to experience, The Silent Millionaire, Wealth Strategies for Introverts Who Refuse to Be Loud, is not for those chasing applause, networking for validation, or burning out for recognition. It's a handbook for building wealth quietly, for living well without trading your peace for the world's approval. In these pages, you'll learn how to master wealth on your own terms, not despite your quiet, but because of it. Convert focus and patience into lasting prosperity. Build income streams that honor your rhythm, not the market's race. Create influence without crowds, connection without exhaustion, and live richly, abundant in resources, but even richer in meaning and peace. This book is for the calm architect who wants their results to speak louder than their words. For the introvert who trades authenticity for approval and is ready to reclaim their power. For every thinker who knows that depth, strategy, and self-awareness can compound into fortune. If you're nodding right now, this is your invitation to stop apologizing for your quiet, to build wealth with intention, not noise, to let your silence speak and your results do the talking. Lasting transformation doesn't start in the crowd. It starts in calm, in careful thought, in the courage to honor your own natural rhythm. If you're tired of performing for others, lean in. The world may reward the loud for a moment, but time, history, and legacy reward the quiet who persist. And it starts now. Take a breath. Feel that stillness? It's not emptiness. It's energy compounding in the background. You're not falling behind. You're rising beneath the radar. Welcome to the Silent Millionaire. Welcome to Mastery, Audiobooks. Welcome to your next level, built on quiet ambition, deep work, and unshakable calm. I'm Gary, and it's an honor to walk this silent, powerful journey with you. Let's begin. The Silent Millionaire. Wealth Strategies for Introverts Who Refuse to Be Loud. Simo Ben. Dedication. To the quiet ones, the thinkers, the builders, the dreamers who choose reflection over noise and depth over display. This book is for you, the ones who have been told to speak louder, yet always knew that your silence carried power. May you find in these pages a mirror of your strength, a reminder that success doesn't need an audience, and that your calm is not a limitation. It is your legacy. Acknowledgements. This book was written in silence, but it was never a solitary act. Every page carries the influence of those who believed in the quiet path, who showed through their own lives that calm ambition changes everything. To the introverts who shared their stories, struggles, and victories, thank you for being proof that depth still matters. Your honesty and vulnerability inspired every insight written here. To my friends, mentors, and collaborators, your encouragement turned reflection into realization. Thank you for respecting the stillness from which this work was born, for understanding that creation sometimes requires withdrawal. To my readers, thank you for trusting me with your attention in a world that fights for it. The fact that you are reading this means you've chosen growth over noise, purpose over performance. I wrote this for you, not to change who you are, but to remind you that who you already are is more than enough. And finally, to the quiet force behind every great creation, silence itself. Without it, none of this would have been written. About the book, The Silent Millionaire, Wealth Strategies for Introverts Who Refuse to Be Loud is not a book about becoming someone you're not. It's a guide to mastering wealth on your own terms. In a culture that celebrates noise, visibility, and relentless motion, introverts are often told to speak louder, network harder, and sell faster. But this book reveals a different truth. Quiet power creates lasting wealth. Through deep insights, powerful mindset shifts, and real-world strategies, you'll discover how to build income, confidence, and success without sacrificing your peace. From the psychology of focus and energy to the art of silent networking and sustainable growth, the Silent Millionaire redefines what it means to be successful in the modern world. You'll learn how to turn solitude into strategy, depth into influence, and authenticity into profit, all while staying rooted in who you truly are. This is not a manual for becoming louder. It's a manifesto for becoming wiser. It's time to build wealth quietly and live richly without noise. Introduction: The Quiet Path to Wealth. There is a strange myth whispered through the corridors of modern success, a myth that says wealth belongs to the loud, that to rise, one must roar, that charisma is the currency of prosperity, and that silence, humility, and introspection are weaknesses to be overcome. But this book was not written for those who shout to be seen. It was written for the ones who listen, observe, and build, for the quiet souls who think before they speak, who prefer substance over spectacle, and who believe that wealth should whisper, not scream. The Silent Millionaire is not an accident of the modern world. They are its most underestimated architect. They are the person who sits in the back of the meeting room, absorbing every detail. The artist who spends late nights crafting something timeless while others chase trends. The investor who studies patterns quietly, acting only when conviction and clarity align. These individuals do not dominate the spotlight, yet their impact is often immense, subtle, and enduring. They are living proof that silence can be strategy, not absence, and that wealth can be built without noise, manipulation, or compromise. The misunderstanding of quiet power. For decades, society has been built around extroverted ideals. The notion that speaking up is more valuable than thinking deeply, that confidence must be performed to be real, and that leadership means being seen. Schools reward those who raise their hands first. Workplaces promote those who self-advertise, and social media glorifies those who are loudest, not necessarily wisest. Yet history tells a different story. Some of the most powerful figures in finance, innovation, and art have been introverts, people who preferred the company of their thoughts to the chaos of attention. Warren Buffett, the quiet observer from Omaha, mastered the art of patience and built an empire through disciplined thinking. J.K. Rowling, once an unknown writer scribbling in cafes, transformed introspection into imagination, and imagination into wealth. Even Steve Wozniak, the co-founder of Apple, built the early architecture of modern computing not by networking or performing, but by tinkering in solitude. Their success was not despite their quietness, it was because of it. This book exists to reclaim that truth, that introversion is not a limitation, but a competitive advantage in the pursuit of wealth. In a world obsessed with noise, clarity becomes a superpower. When everyone rushes to speak, the one who listens sees the full picture. When everyone seeks attention, the one who builds in silence creates something of lasting value. Why the quiet ones struggle, and why they don't have to. Many introverts secretly carry a sense of conflict about success. They want to prosper, yet they feel out of place in a world that equates visibility with value. Networking events feel like performances. Selling feels unnatural. Self-promotion feels disingenuous. So they shrink from opportunities, convincing themselves that wealth must belong to someone louder, bolder, more aggressive. But this internal resistance is not truth, it is conditioning. The extroverted world has trained introverts to believe they must act louder to succeed. Yet every time an introvert pretends to be someone they are not, their energy drains, their clarity fades, and their creativity dims. The truth is simpler and far more powerful. Introverts do not need to become louder. They need to become more deliberate. Building wealth silently means building with precision. It means designing systems that work while you rest, choosing work that rewards depth over performance, and learning how to move resources intelligently rather than energetically. Introverts can, and do, thrive financially when they learn to align success with their natural rhythm instead of fighting it. This book will show you how. What it means to be a silent millionaire. A silent millionaire is not defined by the size of their fortune, but by the way they earned it. It is not about hiding from the world, but about mastering focus, alignment, and discipline in a world addicted to distraction. The silent millionaire builds wealth from peace, not pressure. They act with intention rather than reaction. They do not chase status symbols. they build systems that sustain them. Modern society trains people to treat energy as infinite. The culture of always on glorifies exhaustion as proof of commitment. People brag about sleepless nights, endless meetings, and overflowing calendars as if depletion were a badge of honor. But introverts know the cost of that lie in their bones. They feel the energetic taxation of small talk, crowded spaces, and constant connectivity. They know that when energy is low, even the best plans crumble under fatigue. Every quiet person who's ever burned out trying to keep up with a noisy world understands this truth. Money without energy is meaningless. What good is wealth if you have no clarity, no peace, no space to enjoy it? Energy is not just fuel for productivity. It is the foundation of fulfillment. Managing it wisely is not selfish. It is strategic. Introverts must reframe energy management as wealth management. Because every choice that protects your energy expands your capacity to create, think, and thrive. Boundaries are not barriers. They are investments. Saying no to draining interactions, unnecessary commitments, or overexposure is the same as choosing not to overspend your most valuable currency. Every no preserves energy for a higher return later. The silent millionaire understands this intuitively. They structure their days around their energy peaks, not around external expectations. They know when to withdraw into stillness to refuel and when to re-emerge for decisive action. This balance between solitude and engagement is their secret advantage. While others burn out chasing validation, the quiet achiever compounds power in rest. Take Daniel, a freelance designer who once believed he had to network aggressively to grow his business. He forced himself into meetups and conferences that drained him to exhaustion. Despite all his effort, his income plateaued. Then he decided to rebuild his business around his natural rhythm. He stopped chasing clients in person and built a digital portfolio that spoke for him. He began each day with 2 hours of uninterrupted creative work, then used short, strategic bursts of communication with clients. Within 6 months, his income tripled, not because he worked harder, but because he worked in harmony with his energy. His creativity flourished in solitude, his focus deepened, and his quiet confidence attracted more serious clients. This is what it means to treat energy as currency, to spend it where returns are highest and waste it nowhere else. When energy becomes your currency, rest becomes your investment. For introverts, rest is not idleness, it's recalibration. It's the moment when the internal battery recharges, creativity incubates, and emotional clarity resets. Many quiet achievers misunderstand rest as laziness because society equates stillness with stagnation. But in truth, stillness is productivity in disguise. The mind processes, integrates, and strengthens when you allow it space. Think of an investor who lets their portfolio grow over time. They do not constantly interfere with it. They let compounding work. Similarly, introverts must allow their mental and emotional energy to compound through rest, reflection, and solitude. The wealth that grows from that quiet compounding is immense. Better ideas, sharper intuition, calmer decision-making, and resilience under stress. Energy is also deeply linked to environment. Introverts thrive in spaces that feel safe, uncluttered, and nourishing. An introvert trying to build wealth in a chaotic setting is like a plant growing in poor soil. No matter how much effort is applied, growth remains limited. Designing environments that protect energy is a form of financial strategy. That means choosing quiet over chaos, order over overstimulation, and deep focus over distraction. A silent millionaire's workspace often looks minimal, peaceful, and deliberate. They know that external simplicity fuels internal abundance. The fewer sensory inputs, the more energy remains available for thought and creation. They don't chase stimulation, they curate it. Every object, sound, and commitment either adds to or subtracts from the energy balance sheet. Another key truth: energy leaks cost more than financial mistakes. Losing a small amount of money can be recovered. Losing focus and motivation repeatedly drains months of potential progress. Energy leaks happen in invisible ways: emotional overcommitment, comparison, unresolved tension, or people who demand without giving. Introverts, by nature, absorb the emotions of their surroundings. That sensitivity, while a strength in understanding others, becomes dangerous when boundaries are loose. Protecting energy requires emotional discipline, learning when to listen deeply and when to detach compassionately. Not every problem deserves your empathy. Not every opportunity deserves your attention. The mature introvert learns to guard their focus as fiercely as their wallet. There's also a physiological side to this truth. The brain's energy supply directly impacts decision quality. Research in behavioral economics shows that fatigue increases impulsive spending, risk aversion, and poor judgment, all enemies of wealth building. Introverts who manage their physical and emotional energy protect themselves from these pitfalls. They eat, sleep, and work intentionally, not reactively. They create daily routines that honor their natural rhythms. Morning solitude, deep work blocks, silent breaks, and early disconnection from digital noise are not luxuries. They're protective structures that maintain high-quality energy. Consistency becomes their compound interest. The more stable the routine, the stronger the mind's ability to produce results calmly and effectively. Ultimately, the concept of energy as currency transforms the way introverts approach both life and money. It teaches them that success is not about constant motion but optimal motion, the art of doing less with more depth. The loud economy rewards speed and spectacle. The silent economy rewards focus and sustainability. Introverts win not by competing in volume, but by mastering precision. Every decision, every conversation, every hour of attention becomes intentional. When energy is spent wisely, wealth follows naturally, because clarity replaces confusion and focus replaces frenzy. To master energy is to master longevity. The loud achiever burns fast and fades quickly. The silent millionaire burns slow and glows steadily. Their energy is renewable because it is managed, not consumed. They rest before exhaustion, withdraw before depletion, and choose solitude before noise. They build systems that work even when they're offline. They automate what drains them, delegate what distracts them, and simplify what complicates them. Over time, this quiet discipline produces extraordinary endurance. The world calls it luck, but it's simply energetic intelligence, the wisdom to sustain peace while building power. In the end, energy is the truest wealth there is. Without it, no opportunity can be seized, no vision can be realized, and no success can be enjoyed. For the introvert who learns to treat energy like gold, to spend it wisely, invest it strategically, and protect it fiercely, life becomes both abundant and serene. They no longer chase wealth at the expense of their well-being. They embody a deeper truth. Peace itself is profitable. And that, perhaps, is the highest form of silent success there is. Turning skills into silent income streams. Every person carries a set of skills capable of producing wealth. Yet most never learn how to translate those abilities into income that works quietly in the background. For introverts, this is especially important. Their nature resists the constant social exposure often associated with business growth, but their depth, precision, and patience make them ideal architects of sustainable, low-noise income. While the world celebrates loud launches and endless self-promotion, the silent millionaire builds systems that generate revenue even in their absence. These aren't schemes of overnight success. They are blueprints for enduring prosperity, designed around solitude, strategy, and the careful conversion of skill into value. For the introvert, wealth must align with peace. It cannot come at the cost of emotional depletion. This means that the best income streams are those that flow naturally from one's strengths, require minimal performance, and reward consistency over charisma. Writing, design, coding, research, investing, digital product creation, and consulting are prime examples, fields where output matters more than presence. In these spaces, quiet excellence speaks louder than any marketing slogan. The key is to identify not just what you can do, but what you can do repeatedly without draining your spirit. That is the foundation of sustainable income. The silent millionaire understands that wealth is not only a product of skill, but also of fit, the alignment between temperament and task. To begin this transformation, an introvert must shift perspective. Instead of asking, "How can I sell more?" they ask, "How can I serve quietly, effectively, and at scale?" This question changes everything. It turns attention away from visibility and toward systems. Visibility relies on energy, systems rely on design. A quiet person who builds systems never has to compete with louder personalities because their structure performs on their behalf. A well-crafted digital course, an automated ebook funnel, a self-managed investment portfolio, or a subscription-based service. These are the silent workers that generate income while the creator rests. Each represents a manifestation of deep work that continues to deliver value independently. The introvert's gift of focus makes them naturally skilled at building such systems because they don't need constant stimulation. They thrive in quiet repetition and incremental refinement. Consider the story of Sarah, a data analyst who loved teaching but hated performing. She dreamed of sharing her expertise but couldn't bear the thought of daily live streams, webinars, or constant self-promotion. So, she spent 6 months creating an online course that taught data visualization to beginners. She recorded it once, carefully, methodically, each lesson polished to perfection. She uploaded it to a platform, set up automated emails, and priced it modestly. At first, the results were small, a few sales each week, but over time, as reviews accumulated, the income grew steadily. Within a year, she had made more from her course than from her full-time job. She didn't have to speak on camera daily or attend endless events. Her knowledge worked silently in the background. She had converted skill into system, and system into freedom. Introverts excel in this kind of creation because they approach wealth like architecture, patient, structured, and deeply personal. They prefer to build frameworks that last instead of chasing trends that vanish. Their attention to detail ensures quality. Their introspection ensures authenticity. Every quiet entrepreneur who succeeds without shouting has one thing in common. They build trust through consistency. Trust is the introvert's sales engine. They don't push, they pull, through credibility and reliability. A client or customer who senses calm competence feels safe. That emotional safety is what sells more powerfully than persuasion. When your work consistently delivers value, your reputation becomes your marketer. That's the invisible word-of-mouth economy introverts thrive in, where silence becomes signal and depth becomes demand. The process of turning skills into income begins with self-inventory. Not all skills are obvious. Many are invisible because they feel natural. And what feels natural rarely feels valuable. But the very ease you experience in doing something is often the evidence of mastery. The introvert who organizes chaos effortlessly, who listens and translates emotions into strategy, who creates beauty from precision. Those abilities are marketable, even if they're quiet. The task is to translate that internal capability into external value. That translation happens through packaging, creating something tangible that others can engage with. It could be a digital product, a consulting service, a content library, a subscription newsletter, or even a minimalist coaching model. The point is not the form, but the function. To detach income from direct energy expenditure. That's the essence of silent wealth. Building something once that continues to reward you many times. Financially intelligent introverts also embrace investing as a parallel strategy. Investing, by nature, aligns with introverted strengths, patience, analysis, and emotional steadiness. The market rewards temperament more than talent, and introverts often have the temperament for long-term success. They don't chase noise, they observe patterns. They can sit through volatility without panicking because they're accustomed to stillness. Investing, whether in stocks, real estate, or businesses, is a natural extension of introverted wealth philosophy. Quiet compounding, minimal interference, strategic timing. The goal isn't to gamble, but to build systems of passive appreciation. A silent millionaire doesn't measure success in excitement. They measure it in sustainability. The digital age has made it easier than ever for introverts to turn their skills into income without excessive exposure. Online platforms allow for asynchronous communication, automated systems, and quiet scalability. An introvert can now reach thousands without leaving their workspace or raising their voice. A blog post written once can attract readers for years. A well-designed tool can be downloaded in dozens of countries while the creator sleeps. The internet, in many ways, has leveled the social playing field by allowing competence to outshine charisma. What once required a stage now only requires a screen. And for the silent builder, that's liberation, a chance to thrive in an ecosystem where depth finally outperforms volume. However, The transition from employee mindset to silent entrepreneur requires one crucial psychological shift, from security to self-sufficiency. The introvert who builds wealth must replace the comfort of external validation with the satisfaction of quiet autonomy. This means learning to trust their own vision more than applause. It means being willing to disappear for a while, to go underground, create, refine, and emerge with something remarkable. The silent millionaire doesn't crave immediate recognition. They crave enduring results. They understand that silence is not stagnation, it's incubation. The wealth built in silence carries integrity because it's built without performance pressure. Over time, the accumulation of silent systems, income streams, investments, digital products, royalties, or intellectual property creates a kind of peace that few people experience. It's the peace of knowing that your life no longer depends on constant performance. Your value continues to move even when you're still. You wake up one morning to discover that the hours you spent quietly mastering your craft years ago have turned into assets that now support your freedom. That's the essence of being a silent millionaire. You've built a life that earns while you rest. In the end, turning skills into silent income streams isn't about escaping work. It's about transcending noise. It's about proving that you don't have to shout to succeed, that depth can outperform drama, and that peace and prosperity are not opposites but allies. It's about building an ecosystem of value that reflects who you are, thoughtful, composed, and quietly powerful. When you reach that point, you realize something extraordinary. Your silence was never an obstacle to wealth. It was the strategy all along. The gentle art of selling. Selling has long been portrayed as a loud art, a stage of charisma, persuasion, and boldness where the most confident voice wins. It's the image of the high-energy salesperson shaking hands, speaking quickly, and closing deals through enthusiasm. But this stereotype, while persistent, is deeply misleading. True selling, the kind that lasts, the kind that builds empires quietly, is not about energy, it's about empathy. It's about understanding what people need, matching it with what you offer, and building trust so genuine that the transaction feels like service, not manipulation. For introverts, this truth is liberating. They may not crave the spotlight or the performance of persuasion, but they are masters of depth, listening, and sincerity, qualities that make them naturally gifted at what real selling requires. The gentle art of selling begins with a shift in perception. Selling is not talking someone into something. It's helping them see the value in what already serves them. The loud salesperson uses volume to convince. The quiet one uses clarity to connect. When you understand your audience deeply, their fears, their aspirations, their struggles, your words become meaningful. You no longer sell, you solve. You no longer pitch, you guide. This is where introverts excel because they listen more than they speak. Their listening creates understanding, and understanding builds trust. Trust, in turn, is the foundation of every lasting sale. The introvert doesn't need to exaggerate. They only need to articulate truth clearly and calmly. Consider the story of Elias, a quiet consultant who once believed his reserved nature was a disadvantage in business development. He dreaded client calls, avoided networking, and often undercharged because he felt awkward selling himself. But when he reframed selling as helping people make better decisions, everything changed. He stopped performing and started listening. On calls, instead of rushing to impress, he asked thoughtful questions, questions that revealed the client's deeper frustrations and goals. When he spoke, he did so softly but precisely, explaining how his service aligned with their values. His conversion rate skyrocketed, not because he became louder, but because he became more genuine. Clients didn't feel sold to, they felt understood. This is the essence of gentle selling, when the act of communication feels less like persuasion and more like partnership. Introverts are uniquely positioned for this form of connection. Their introspection gives them insight into human emotion. Their calm presence puts others at ease. In a world saturated with sales noise, pop-ups, ads, aggressive pitches, a quiet, authentic tone feels refreshing. People lean into calm voices in a chaotic marketplace. When a seller speaks slowly, deliberately, with warmth and conviction, the listener feels safe. And safety is the most powerful emotional driver in commerce. Loud sellers may win attention temporarily, but quiet sellers win loyalty. They create relationships instead of transactions. They understand